Chosen one, listen. Heaven has paused the noise around you. Time itself bends for this moment because an angel has been sent to deliver a warning that concerns your very breath. You are not hearing this by chance. This message is not digital, it is divine. You are being summoned out of confusion, out of routine, out of the trance of modern healing. The angel of the Lord stands beside you now, radiant and firm, whispering through the veil. Stop before you swallow another deception. There is a medicine, one they call safe, normal, necessary. It comes wrapped in trust and convenience. Yet the angel says its formula was never born of light. It was crafted in the shadows, where greed and control intertwine. It does not heal the soul, it silences it. You have felt it before, the heavy fog in your thoughts, the numb calm that hides the cry of your spirit. They told you it was balance, but heaven calls it bondage. You were not created to depend on man-made peace. You were created to flow in divine equilibrium, where every cell sings in harmony with heaven. The world calls it therapy, the spirit calls it theft. For what good is a calm mind if your purpose has been medicated out of you? What good is a steady hand if the fire that once burned in your soul has been put to sleep? The Word of God declares in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 17, "For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith the Lord." This restoration is not found in a vial, nor prescribed by hands driven by profit. It flows from obedience, from faith, from truth accepted in full surrender. Heaven is reminding you that healing has never required chemicals. It required covenant. Chosen one, there are substances being praised as saviors but designed as silencers. The system knows that when your spirit is alert, you are unstoppable. So it trades you comfort for control. It gives you relief so you stop reaching for revelation. But the angel is tearing off the disguise now. He is showing you the true exchange taking place, your divine sensitivity traded for synthetic sedation. Look back at your path. When did you begin to feel less alive, less passionate, less certain of what God said? That was not spiritual decline, it was chemical interference. You were being rewired to forget what freedom felt like. Yet heaven refused to lose you. That is why this message found you tonight, because your purpose cannot end in prescription. The angel speaks again. This is not about health. This is about holiness. This is not about pain management. This is about purpose management. The enemy knows he cannot destroy you, so he distracts you, makes you dependent, docile, disconnected. But every chosen soul eventually feels the shift. Your discernment begins to itch. You wake up in the middle of the night feeling watched. That is heaven checking your pulse. You are standing at a holy crossroads. To the left is comfort, the easy path the world applauds. To the right is calling, the road that burns before it blesses. One numbs your pain, the other redeems it. The angel's hand points to the right. He commands with love, choose truth, choose awareness, choose the narrow road. Your body is sacred territory. Every cell, every heartbeat, every breath is written in divine code. That is why darkness targets it. It knows that if it can corrupt the temple, it can silence the voice within it. But heaven is restoring your temple now. The light is reclaiming what chemicals have claimed. The Spirit says, "You are not sick, you are under siege." And this warning is your rescue. When you step away from the false cure, your senses will return sharper than ever. Dreams will reignite, the numbness will lift, the clarity you lost will rush back like a tide breaking through the dam. You will begin to feel again, and with that feeling will come purpose, calling, and authority. Pause, breathe. Do you feel that vibration in your chest? That's heaven reactivating your signal. The angel is marking you for restoration. No more silent suffering. No more artificial stillness. You will no longer depend on the same system that dulls your light. You will rise above it. You will walk in divine health because healing is your inheritance. Share this message if your spirit bears witness, so another soul might escape the silence. Like and subscribe to remain connected to the flow of divine revelation, because this is only the beginning. Comment 7 below to declare that you are awake, that you have heard the angel's warning, and that your temple belongs to God alone. You begin to see it clearly now, the medicine of control. It is not just a pill or an injection. It is a pattern, a quiet design woven into the fabric of the world. You see the commercials, the smiling faces, the promises of relief. They speak of progress and protection, yet something inside you trembles. The angel whispers, "Watch the language," because every slogan carries a spirit, and not all spirits serve the light. The medicine of control was never meant to heal the body, it was meant to calm rebellion in the soul. It teaches submission disguised as safety. It numbs your pain, but also your purpose. And the world applauds it because a numb population is easier to guide, easier to deceive. Those who question are labeled unstable. Those who refuse are called reckless. Yet deep within, you know obedience to fear is still disobedience to truth. You notice how easily people surrender their agency in exchange for comfort. One small pill, one little shot, and suddenly the world feels manageable. But behind that feeling lies an invisible leash. It is not about chemistry. It is about conditioning. The angel shows you the pattern: fear first, then dependence, then silence. You see how each new medicine demands your trust. Each new solution requires your surrender. There is nothing inherently evil in science, yet the enemy has learned to baptize deception in the language of care. The angel reveals that the spirit behind this system is ancient. It traces back to the same serpent that once promised wisdom in Eden. "Take this," the serpent said then, and says still, "and you will be like gods." The lie has not changed, only its packaging has evolved. The medicine of control does not always kill quickly. Sometimes it soothes, stabilizes, and slowly steals. It takes your awareness first, then it dulls conviction. It replaces divine discernment with programmed peace. You stop hearing the still small voice and begin trusting the louder one screens. Headlines, experts who never mention the soul. That is how the war is fought now, not with swords, but with sedatives. Heaven reminds you through the ancient words of the book of Proverbs, chapter 14, verse 12. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death. The angel makes you pause on that truth. What the world calls progress often hides destruction. What looks like relief can be the slow undoing of the divine design within you. You realize the pattern has always been the same. Fear drives you toward false comfort, and comfort leads to control. The system offers you convenience in exchange for conviction. It tells you to trust the experts more than your own spirit. But you were never meant to outsource your discernment. You were meant to walk in revelation, not regulation. You remember how your ancestors trusted creation before corporations. They sought wisdom through prayer, fasting, and alignment with the Creator's rhythm. Healing was partnership with heaven, not dependence on systems. Now healing has become an industry, and whoever controls the cure controls the people. That is the hidden goal of the medicine of control: not to heal, but to harness. You look around and see how normalized dependence has become. People laugh about their need for pills, post about their struggles online, and never realize they are sharing their own surrender. It is not judgment that fills you, it is sorrow. You see how many chosen ones have lost their edge, their sensitivity, their ability to hear heaven's voice without interference. The angel speaks again, softly this time. The true antidote is awareness. Guard what you allow into your body and your mind. What you consume either clarifies your vision or clouds it. You begin to understand that every act of refusal, every time you choose awareness over automatic obedience, is warfare in disguise. The medicine of control cannot bind a spirit that chooses consciousness. Now your perception sharpens. You see the invisible strings behind policy, advertisement, and praise. You see how society honors compliance and mocks conviction. But truth has never bowed to popularity. It walks alone and shines brighter for it, as the angel's presence withdraws for a moment. His words remain like fire in your chest. You whisper, "I will not be controlled. My healing belongs to heaven." The wind around you shifts, carrying the faint hum of unseen wings. You sense heaven recording your vow, sealing your spirit against silent deception forevermore. Light flickers in your chest, growing brighter with every breath. The angel's presence fades, but the warning remains etched into the marrow of your awakening. The shadow behind the prescription is darker than you imagined. You stand now in Revelation's light, watching the curtain draw back on a stage where medicine, money, and manipulation dance together. The angel does not whisper this time, his tone sharpens. "Look closely," he says. "Healing is no longer about help, it is about hierarchy." You see it, the invisible web of profit wrapped around the idea of care. Laboratories that promise miracles, governments that promise safety, and voices that call themselves experts but whose loyalty belongs not to life, but to control. The angel traces an unseen line from the bottle in your hand to the boardrooms above it. He shows you the chain of influence, the signatures, the oaths, the quiet agreements. It is not a conspiracy. It is a commerce of souls. They discovered long ago that the easiest way to rule the body is to regulate what enters it. They create the illness, then sell the cure. They give you the pain, then market the relief. It is not random, it is ritual. Every advertisement, every glowing promise is an invitation to trust what was never meant to hold your faith. The Spirit reminds you through the words found in the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The angel lifts his hand and says, this is why you must learn. This is why you must question. Because ignorance is currency in this system, every uninformed soul is a silent investor in deception. You see how the shadows operate. They know the chosen ones carry light, so they target the vessel that carries it, the body. They disguise their assault as compassion, their domination as treatment. They say, we are here to help you, while slowly teaching you to stop helping yourself. The more they manage your health, the less you manage your spirit. The angel lets you see something few ever do. Behind the medicine lies the hand that crafts dependency, the same hand that once whispered to kings and kingdoms, trading healing for allegiance. The spirit of pharmakeia, the ancient counterfeit of divine healing, still breathes through modern systems. It mimics miracles but never restores. It promises life, but always demands loyalty first. You realize now that every dose you take without discernment becomes a covenant. The moment you place blind faith in the system, you open a small door within your soul. It may seem harmless at first, but covenants once made begin to grow roots. And soon, you are no longer choosing the medicine. It is choosing you. The angel speaks again. Do not mistake management for deliverance. God does not medicate bondage, he breaks it. You feel those words pierce deep. You remember every time you sought relief instead of revelation. Every time you prayed for escape instead of endurance. Yet even now, heaven's mercy remains. The warning does not condemn, it invites. You are being shown the mechanics of deception so you can dismantle them. This revelation was never meant to scare you, it was meant to awaken you. The more you see, the freer you become. And the freer you are, the less grip the system has. You begin to understand that discernment is your greatest defense. To discern is to protect the sacred territory of your mind and body from unholy ownership. The angel tells you every ingredient that enters you must answer to heaven's authority. Every prescription must pass through prayer. You look back at all the moments you thought were coincidence, the sudden side effects, the unexplainable fatigue, the fog that made you forget your fire. They were not random. They were reminders that something foreign had entered sacred ground. The enemy cannot possess a soul sealed by God, but he can dull it until it forgets its shine. The light around you intensifies. The angel's wings shimmer like molten glass, and his voice resounds. The time for blind trust is over. You must see who stands behind the shelf, who profits from your pain, who calls your obedience science. The truth stings, but freedom always begins with discomfort. For a moment, silence covers you. You realize you have been part of this pattern longer than you knew. Yet you also sense something else rising within holy defiance, the kind that refuses to bow to convenience, the kind that fears ignorance more than it fears truth. You lift your gaze and feel a whisper moving through your spirit. You were not meant to be managed. You were meant to be made whole. Now comment, "I see truth." When you type it, it isn't for attention, it is a declaration. Heaven reads it as agreement, a spiritual signature that marks you as one who will no longer live blind under false peace. Each word you write echoes through the unseen, proclaiming that your eyes are open and your spirit refuses sedation. Your body is not a machine to be managed. It is the sacred battlefield where heaven and darkness contend for authority. The angel draws your attention to your own reflection, showing you what you rarely see, the silent war unfolding beneath your skin. Every heartbeat is a drumbeat in a war unseen. Every cell carries memory. Every breath carries message. What you consume, what you touch, what you believe, all of it shapes the atmosphere inside your temple. You have called your body ordinary, but it was never ordinary. It was built as a vessel of revelation, a walking altar where divine instruction meets physical form. The enemy knows this truth far too well. That is why he targets not just your thoughts, but your biology. He weaves subtle poisons into what you eat, the air you breathe, the medicine you trust. The goal is not only sickness, it is silence. The angel reveals that the war is older than humanity itself. Long before the first prescription, before the first market or machine, there was envy. The fallen ones could no longer carry the light of God within their being, so they vowed to corrupt the only creatures that could. Humanity's body, crafted in divine image, became their obsession. To twist what was holy, to pollute what was pure, to rewrite the language of creation itself. You sense how this corruption hides behind convenience. Every shortcut away from discipline, every quick solution that replaces prayer becomes another thread in the enemy's design. The world applauds ease, but ease dulls vigilance. And what the spirit stops defending, darkness begins to claim. The angel speaks with weight in his tone. Your body remembers holiness even when your mind forgets it. That is why conviction rises when you consume what you know is harmful. That is why your heart feels heavy after indulgence. Why your peace fades when you compromise. The temple does not lie. The temple reacts. It mourns every unholy offering laid upon its altar. Heaven does not call you to reject the body, but to reclaim it. It was never meant to be feared, only guarded. The spirit inhabits flesh willingly because he intends to redeem it. The enemy tries to convince you that your body is your enemy, unruly, weak, shameful. But that lie exists to make you surrender your authority. Once you hate the temple, you stop defending it. Once you stop defending it, the invader enters freely. The angel shows you how each system in the world works to divide spirit from body. The workplace drains it. The diet poisons it. The medicine suppresses it. Yet heaven is calling you to unite again, to live as one whole being under divine order. Spirit guiding soul. Soul governing body, that is alignment. That is protection. You recall moments when you felt fully alive, times when worship filled every cell, when your breath carried gratitude, when even your skin tingled with presence. That was no illusion, that was design. You were created for seamless communion, where spirit and flesh speak one language. But every foreign chemical, every false cure, attempts to rewrite that language, replacing divine harmony with artificial control. The angel allows you to feel what heaven feels when it sees your body mistreated, not anger, but sorrow. The same sorrow a father feels when his child forgets his worth. You sense how deeply God values the vessel he crafted for his dwelling. He does not see sickness as your identity, but as an invasion to be driven out. Then the angel's tone softens. You are not beyond repair. Restoration is not impossible. The same breath that spoke galaxies into motion still moves through your lungs. Those words sink deep. You realize that the war for your body is not lost. It is ongoing, and you still hold authority to choose who reigns within it. Every movement you make can become worship again. Every meal, every step, every act of care can be holy. When you lift water to your lips with awareness, you are declaring, this temple will not bow to poison. When you breathe with gratitude, you are waging war against apathy. You no longer live unconsciously, you live consecrated. You understand now that healing is not merely recovery, it is rebellion. To choose purity over convenience, awareness over sedation, is to declare war on the spirit of control that rules this age. And though this war feels invisible, its victories are written in your bones, in your breath, in your renewed strength. The angel steps back but leaves a final whisper in your heart, guard the temple, and heaven will guard you. You now see the lie of relief for what it truly is, a soft chain wrapped in comfort. The angel stands before you again, eyes filled not with anger but with compassion. Many seek escape from pain, he says, but few seek its message. Because every pain is a teacher, and every ache carries a divine lesson written in invisible ink. The world sells relief like candy. It promises instant calm, fast peace, painless living. But the soul that never feels discomfort never grows. The chosen ones were never meant to live numbed. They were meant to live aware. The angel shows you how many people mistake relief for healing. Relief silences the symptom, but true healing restores purpose. Relief asks for payment. Healing asks for partnership. You remember the nights when you begged God to take away the heaviness in your chest, the confusion in your mind, the ache in your body. You thought his silence meant abandonment, but it was invitation. Heaven wasn't ignoring you, it was teaching you to listen deeper. Because sometimes pain is not punishment, it's a signal. It says something inside is calling for alignment. The Spirit reminds you through the words written in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 3. We glory in tribulations, also knowing that tribulation worketh patience. Even pain can be sacred when you see it through heaven's eyes. What the world calls suffering, heaven calls shaping. Every hardship you have endured has carved wisdom into your soul, preparing you to see deception for what it is. You begin to understand that comfort can be a thief. It steals your hunger for change. It lulls the warrior inside you to sleep. The angel says, when life feels heavy, do not rush to numb it. Sit with it. Let it reveal what needs healing, for even tears water the seeds of transformation. This truth settles in your heart like gentle rain, and you realize the medicine of control works because people fear pain more than they trust process. The world teaches you to medicate every ache, every silence, every question. But God allows certain discomforts to bring divine direction. Sometimes the wound is the door through which light enters. You feel something stirring within you, hope, but also responsibility. You are no longer a passive receiver of truth. You are becoming its messenger. The light you now carry is meant to reach others still trapped in false relief. So, if this message has awakened something inside you, if it has reminded you that your pain still carries purpose, then let your gratitude move like a ripple through still water. Click like as an act of agreement. Share this message as you would release a lantern into the night, and subscribe to stay near the fire of these revelations that continue to flow. And if your heart feels a quiet nudge, a whisper that says, be part of this light, consider giving. Not as duty, but as devotion. Think of it as adding one drop of oil to the lamp that keeps this flame burning across the world. Every small seed you sow becomes fuel for more voices to awaken, more souls to see. There is no demand here, only invitation. The angel smiles as he watches your understanding deepen. Heaven never demands, it invites, he says. Every gift given from a free heart multiplies light. If you choose to give, do it with joy, not guilt. If you choose only to listen, you are still part of this awakening. Both are sacred. Both are seen. You sense that what you're part of is bigger than one message. It's a movement, a gentle army of souls waking up, one by one, to the truth that real healing starts within. And as you listen now, you feel that movement stirring under your ribs like wind beneath a flame. The angel's voice softens, do not despise your pain. It has carried you to this moment. You nod slowly. The weight that once felt unbearable now feels holy. It was never there to destroy you. It was there to prepare you. If this message has breathed life into your spirit, stay with us. Subscribe to remain within this current of truth, and let your generosity, whether a prayer, a share, or a seed, become part of the story heaven is still writing. The angel's presence fades like dawn mist, but his words stay alive inside you. Every heartbeat now sounds like a vow, I will not numb my purpose again. You rise slowly, lighter, clearer. The world feels sharper, yet safer. Somewhere deep within, a flame steadies, whispering healing has begun, and this time, it is real. The air grows still again, and you sense the angel returning, not in thunder or flame this time, but in calm authority. Heaven presses pause, he says, because many are about to cross a line they do not see. You feel the weight of that warning settle inside your ribs. There is urgency here, not born of fear, but of mercy. Something must be spoken before the next step is taken. You recall the countless times you've reached for the familiar bottle, the prescribed comfort that promised peace. You did not do it in rebellion, you did it in hope. But heaven saw every swallow, every sigh, every quiet moment when your soul whispered, I don't want to live this way anymore. The angel nods as if he heard those cries in real time. The world medicates what God intends to mend, he says softly. Heaven interrupts you because it still trusts you to respond. That's why this message reached you now, because you are standing on sacred ground disguised as an ordinary moment. This warning is not punishment, it is invitation. Again, the Word of God speaks in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19. I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing, therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. The angel lets the words hang between you. Every choice you make from this point forward will echo through generations, he says. Even what you consume carries covenant. You begin to see it differently now. The medicine was never just about your body, it was about inheritance. Each act of surrender or strength plants seeds in your bloodline. When you choose awareness, your children inherit clarity. When you choose obedience, your descendants inherit protection. Heaven sees farther than the moment. The angel shows you a vision, souls asleep in a sea of silver tablets, their dreams muted by the hum of artificial peace. Above them, beams of light stretch toward heaven but stop halfway, blocked by a veil of numbness. Then one by one flames begin to flicker among them. Each flame represents a soul who woke up, who said enough. The light spreads like wildfire, dissolving the fog. You realize you are one of those flames. This is why the interruption came. Heaven is rekindling what the medicine of control tried to mute. Still, the angel does not condemn those who struggle. He speaks with compassion. God does not despise your weakness. He despises your surrender to it. You are allowed to be weary, but you are not permitted to remain blind. Grace gives you strength to break cycles, not excuses to live in them. You can feel the shift inside your body now. Your mind feels clearer. The fog begins to lift. This isn't magic, it's alignment. When your heart decides to listen, heaven rushes in like wind filling empty sail. The angel smiles faintly, seeing the change begin. Heaven will always meet honesty, he says. One honest confession shakes more darkness than 1,000 empty rituals. You whisper under your breath, I want to be free. The moment those words escape, something unseen loosens. The chains don't rattle, they dissolve. You sense heaven waiting, listening for your response, not in words, but in action. This is where obedience becomes oxygen. It is no longer enough to hear truth, you must live it. Now, as the angel prepares to depart, his last words come like thunder wrapped in mercy. What you feed will rule you. What you starve will die. You know what he means. It is time to starve the addiction to ease and feed the hunger for holiness. If these words stir your heart, if you feel heaven confirming that this is your turning point, then mark it now. Comment 3:33 below. It is not superstition, it is symbolism. 3 represents divine completion, Father, Son, and Spirit. When you write it, you are declaring your alignment with heaven's design. You are saying, I choose life. I choose light. I choose freedom. The angel lingers for a moment longer, his presence flickering like gold through mist. You sense heaven waiting for your response, not with pressure, but with patience. Every second stretches, sacred and silent. Then a whisper moves through the air, mark this moment. It is not about numbers or symbols, it is about surrender. And when you type the sign, you're not feeding an algorithm, you're feeding your own awakening. Comment 333 now, not as habit, but as covenant. Each digit declares unity with divine order. 3 for the Trinity, 3 for harmony, 3 for wholeness. Heaven records it as your yes, your conscious choice to walk free. You now understand what few dare to face. The real danger was never the medicine itself, but the slow erosion of awareness that came with it. The angel's silence feels different now, not distant but trusting, as if heaven knows you can finally handle truth without being crushed by it. You begin to see how subtle spiritual anesthesia works. It does not arrive as evil. It comes dressed as comfort. It numbs gently, softens conviction, and replaces hunger with habit. It teaches the soul to survive instead of thrive, to exist instead of expand. The angel once said, "Darkness fears your sensitivity more than your strength. Now you understand why." The more you feel, the more you discern. The more you discern, the harder it is for deception to live near you. Spiritual anesthesia begins with small compromises. You stop praying when tired. Stop questioning when something feels wrong. Stop resisting when the crowd applauds what heaven mourns. Soon your discernment dulls and your spirit grows quiet, not dead, just distracted. That's when darkness moves freely, feeding you counterfeit peace. The angel allows you to see this as a vision, countless souls walking through a field of fog. Their eyes open but unfocused, their steps steady yet aimless. Each one believes they are free because they feel calm. But their calm is hollow as silence purchased by surrender. They carry the medicine of forgetfulness in their pockets, swallowing it not from need but from habit. And heaven weeps, not in anger but in longing, waiting for one spark of awareness to break the spell. You watch as a beam of light splits the fog. One person stops. Their hand trembles and they drop the pill and they look up. It's a small act, almost invisible, but the atmosphere shudders. The fog thins around them. One awakening triggers another and another. Awareness spreads faster than deception ever could. The angel turns to you. This is why the chosen ones suffer more, he explains. Because you feel what others ignore. You sense shifts others dismiss. You are not broken for feeling deeply, you are chosen for it. These words settle in you like warmth after winter. The sensitivity that once made you feel weak is revealed as your greatest armor. You think back to every moment you felt too much the noise of the world, the sadness of strangers, the ache that seemed to have no cause. You realize now it was never random empathy, it was discernment. Heaven wired you to feel truth before you could even speak it. Spiritual anesthesia thrives where awareness is treated as a burden. Society praises distraction, rewards numbness, celebrates detachment. To feel is considered weakness. To question is rebellion. Yet the angel tells you the heart that refuses to numb is the heart that remains holy. You begin to retrain your senses. You pay attention to the small things, the taste of pure water, the sound of the wind, the rhythm of your own breath. Each simple act becomes sacred because it pulls you back into presence. Awareness, you realize, is worship. Every moment you truly notice is a moment you dethrone darkness. The angel speaks again, quieter this time. You cannot fight deception in others until you first wake up within yourself. It is not accusation, it is invitation. He shows you how even chosen souls fall asleep spiritually while thinking they are awake. Busyness, exhaustion, endless seeking for comfort, all of it becomes spiritual anesthesia. And now that you've seen it, you cannot unsee it. You recall what Scripture said: the narrow path was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to be conscious. The wide road is crowded because it feels easier, but it costs awareness. The narrow one feels lonely but leads to clarity. Heaven never demanded perfection, it demanded wakefulness. The angel's light begins to fade, but his words linger like perfume in the air. Guard your sensitivity as treasure, he says. Do not despise your tears. They keep your spirit alive. You understand that feeling deeply is not a curse, it is communion. Every ache is a reminder that your soul still responds to heaven's touch. You sit quietly after he departs, breathing in the stillness. There is no more fog in your mind, no more rush to fix or escape. Only awareness, sharp, tender, real. You feel the pulse in your wrist, the quiet rhythm of life. It feels holy because it is. And in that silence, you hear it clearly, the sound of your spirit reawakening. It is not loud, not dramatic, just steady. A quiet promise that the anesthesia has worn off and the true healing has begun. The angel's voice returns like wind moving through high branches. You have seen the fog, he says. Now see the mark it leaves. You sense him pointing, not to your skin, but deeper to the patterns woven inside humanity itself. This next revelation is heavier, older, etched into the roots of civilization. You begin to see how easily obedience turns into dependence. It starts with one small compromise, a signature, a shot, a pill, a policy. Each one feels harmless alone, but together they build a pattern, a rhythm of compliance that shapes generations. The angel calls it the mark of compliance. It is not carved by force, but by habit. People stop asking, "Is this right?" and begin saying, "Everyone is doing it." You understand now that darkness no longer needs chains when it can build comfort. It no longer needs violence when it can offer convenience. The mark of compliance is invisible. It sits quietly inside the mind, whispering. It's easier not to question. And soon, entire nations move like one obedient body, forgetting who they are, forgetting who made them. The angel allows you to see a world from above. Millions of glowing souls, each created with unique light, are slowly dimmed to the same dull shade. It looks peaceful, organized, even beautiful from a distance. But the closer you look, the more lifeless it feels. No diversity of thought, no spark of revelation, just harmony born from hypnosis. It is not unity, it is uniformity. Heaven never wanted uniformity. It created difference as divine art. Every chosen one was given a distinct light frequency, a spiritual fingerprint meant to reflect a different facet of God. The mark of compliance erases that. It says, be safe, be silent, be the same. It trades authenticity for acceptance, truth for belonging. The angel reminds you of how this spirit works. It never begins by asking for worship. It asks only for small submission. It calls obedience progress. It paints rebellion as chaos. It slowly conditions you to exchange discernment for approval. By the time you realize what you've traded, your inner voice no longer remembers how to speak. He gestures toward the world of medicine again. See how they have practiced this, he says. First, they teach you that your body cannot heal without them. Then they teach you that your mind cannot rest without them. Finally, they teach you that your soul cannot choose without them. You see the progression clearly now, control wrapped in compassion. You remember moments when your convictions felt inconvenient, when staying silent seemed safer than standing firm. Those moments were tests, not punishments. The angel shows you how heaven records every act of quiet courage, the times you refused to repeat a lie, the times you said no when it cost you peace. Each small defiance was a seed of freedom. The mark of compliance does not terrify heaven, it reveals opportunity, because every system built on silence eventually crumbles under the weight of truth. What terrifies darkness most is not rebellion, it's awakening. A single awakened soul disrupts centuries of programming. You begin to feel a strange mixture of sorrow and power. Sorrow for those still bound. Power because you know freedom begins the moment awareness arrives. The angel says, the mark of compliance cannot cling to a moving spirit. Keep growing, and the grip will break. You realize that stagnation is its fuel, movement is its undoing. He shows you a final image, a tree growing through concrete. The cracks widen slowly as the trunk expands. The roots push downward, searching for living water, refusing to yield. That is what heaven wants for you. Growth that does not apologize. Roots that refuse to die. Resistance that looks like beauty. The angel steps closer. You will see many who mock this message. He says, they are not your enemies, they are still asleep. Speak gently. Live brightly. Your awakening is their invitation. His wings shimmer once more, scattering light like broken glass over dark ground. You understand that every act of awareness, every choice to live awake is rebellion against the mark of compliance. You do not need to shout, only to remain clear, steady, alive. You become the contradiction that darkness cannot explain. As the vision fades, you feel something burn in your chest, a seal of truth, not carved by control but by calling. You whisper to yourself, I will not be remade. And heaven answers back in stillness, then you will remain mine. The light fades, but its echo stays within you, steady, living, unshakable. You walk onward, not with fear but clarity, carrying unseen fire beneath your skin, knowing obedience to truth is freedom itself. The air thickens again, heavy with revelation. The angel returns, his presence bright but solemn. You have seen the system, he says, now you must face the choice. You know this moment feels different, it carries weight, a threshold between knowing and acting. The path ahead splits in two, one paved with obedience, the other with blindness. You stand before these paths, and the angel lifts his hand. The first road shines gently, narrow and alive. It hums with quiet conviction, whispering truth, struggle, freedom. The other is wide and smooth, shimmering with promises of ease. But as you look closer, you see faint shadows crawling along its edges. It feels safe, but it smells like sleep. The angel explains softly. Every generation faces this crossroad. Few choose the narrow path because it asks for awareness. Awareness demands accountability, and accountability costs comfort. You realize that this is what the battle has always been about, your ability to choose consciously, not conveniently. The Spirit reminds you through the words of the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 13. Enter ye in at the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. The angel pauses. Destruction rarely comes as disaster, he says. It comes as distraction. You understand now that the medicine, the fog, the compliance, all of it was meant to keep you distracted long enough to forget who you are. The enemy doesn't need to destroy chosen ones. He only needs to dull their vision until they can no longer see the difference between peace and paralysis. You feel conviction rise inside you, not the heavy guilt of shame, but the burning awareness of choice. You have seen too much to turn away. The angel looks directly into you and says, this is the moment when heaven measures your response. You think about all the subtle ways blindness crept in the silence after compromise, the false comfort that promised relief but stole purpose. You remember the dreams that once stirred your spirit and the times you felt God's whisper but dismissed it as imagination. They were not imagination. They were early warnings. The angel lifts his sword not to threaten, but to separate illusion from truth. A flash of light cuts through the space around you, dividing every false piece from real clarity. You feel something in your chest ignite, not with fear but with courage. You finally see the difference between survival and surrender. The wide path calls to you one last time, soft and familiar, but the narrow one pulses with a living rhythm, raw, challenging, holy. You step toward it. The ground trembles slightly under your foot, but the moment you move forward, peace floods you. Not comfort, but conviction. Not relief, but strength. The angel watches, a faint smile forming. You have chosen sight over sleep, he says. Few make that decision and stay faithful to it. Guard it well. You look back once, not in regret but gratitude. Every shadow you've walked through brought you here. Every deception you've faced became a teacher. You see now that even pain served the plan of awakening. The angel's light begins to fade, but before it vanishes, his voice echoes one last time. This path will not always be easy, but it will always be true. Those who choose it will carry light strong enough to awaken others still wandering. Now, the silence feels holy. The world around you seems clearer, sharper, alive. You understand that awakening is not a single event, it is a daily decision. If you can feel that decision stirring inside you, if your heart knows that today is the day to step into awareness, then mark it with your declaration. Comment "I awaken" below. When you write it, it is not just words, it is agreement with heaven itself. It tells the unseen realms that your eyes are open, your spirit is ready, and you will not return to blindness. The air around you hums gently after your declaration. It feels as though heaven leans closer, listening, acknowledging your voice among countless echoes. The silence no longer feels empty, it feels alive. You sense light gathering within, quiet but undeniable. It doesn't rush, it roots itself. You realize that awakening isn't loud, it's steady. It's the moment when you stop running and start remembering who you are. Comment "I awaken." These two words are more than text, they are testimony. When you write them, you are joining a lineage of souls who refuse to live numb. Heaven records it as covenant, marking this moment as the hour your sight returned and your journey toward wholeness began anew. The angel stands in quiet radiance before you once more. His light feels warmer this time, no longer the blinding fire of warning, but the soft glow of understanding. You have walked through shadows, he says. Now learn to walk as light. The message is clear. Revelation means responsibility. What you have seen was never meant to end in knowledge alone. It was meant to become action, compassion, movement. You look around, and everything seems different. The same world that once felt heavy now breathes with meaning. Every person you pass carries a story. Every struggle you once despised suddenly looks like a seed breaking open. The angel whispers, "The chosen are not meant to escape the world, they are meant to heal it." You remember how easily people look for grand miracles, waiting for heaven to descend in thunder. But the real miracle often happens quietly, in the way you speak to someone broken, in the way you choose patience over anger, in how you forgive even when no one apologizes. The medicine of control taught humanity to outsource love, to wait for change instead of becoming it. But heaven calls you to be the antidote yourself. The Spirit reminds you through the letter of Paul to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 11. You will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. The angel explains. Every resource heaven gives you, your breath, your voice, your time, even your coins, was meant to circulate like blood through the body of light. Giving was never meant to deplete you. It was designed to keep your spirit alive. You think of light again. If it refuses to leave the lamp, it never reaches the dark. The angel says, keep the flame flowing. That's what this entire journey has been about, learning to pass on what you've been given. You are not called to store truth, but to share it until it multiplies. So if this message has touched something deep within you, let your gratitude flow like river water. Like this message, not out of habit, but as a signal, a ripple that tells the unseen world, I received this light. Each click is a drop, and many drops together form streams that reach far beyond what you can see. Share it as you would release doves into the sky free. Graceful, carrying hope to places you may never step. Somewhere, someone scrolling in silence will see it and feel what you felt, that divine interruption, that holy pause, that sense of this was meant for me. Subscribe not because you must, but because light needs consistency to keep burning. Each connection is like adding another log to a sacred fire. Together we keep warmth alive in a world that often grows cold. You are not joining a channel. You are joining a circle of awakening souls who refuse to let truth die out. And if your heart stirs, if you feel a quiet pull to give, donate only as you are moved, not as a trade, not as obligation, but as offering. Think of it as planting olive trees you may never eat from, but others will rest beneath their shade. Every seed of generosity becomes oxygen for this mission. It keeps the message breathing across languages, continents, hearts. The angel's voice softens. Heaven never commands generosity, it inspires it. A willing gift shines brighter than forced sacrifice. You feel the truth of it. When giving flows from joy, it multiplies itself. When it comes from fear, it fades. So if you give, let it be music, not debt. You glance upward, and the sky seems alive again. You feel a connection not of obligation but belonging. This mission, the awakening of the chosen ones, is not a single flame. It is a constellation, and every act of kindness, every shared truth, every prayer whispered for another becomes another star in the tapestry of redemption. The angel steps closer, his light surrounding you like dawn. You are no longer just a receiver, he says. You are a keeper of fire. You nod slowly. Understanding now that revelation without response turns into residue, but revelation shared becomes resurrection. As you stand there, light shimmering across your shoulders, you feel an overwhelming peace. The medicine of control, the fog, the deception, it no longer holds authority over you. You are awake, aware, alive. If this message has strengthened your heart, let your gratitude move like sunlight across still water, like share, subscribe, or give only as your spirit feels led. Every small gesture becomes another spark that keeps this light traveling. For in the end, this was never about one voice speaking, it was about many lights rising. The fire within you burns steadier now, no longer wild and unpredictable, but purposeful. You feel it in your chest like a pulse that beats in rhythm with something greater. The angel stands beside you again, quieter than before, as if his role is slowly shifting from teacher to witness. Now comes the cleansing, he says. When light enters, it will not only comfort, it will confront, you understand. For true healing to begin, what was hidden must rise. Every false layer, every compromise, every residue left by the medicine of control will surface now. The angel warns, do not mistake exposure for destruction. It is mercy when heaven reveals what it intends to remove. Your body begins to remember what freedom feels like. You sense movements inside, emotional, spiritual, almost physical, as if the lies that once clung to your cells are shaking loose. The angel explains that purification does not begin in perfection, it begins in honesty. In the moment you stop pretending to be healed is the moment healing starts. The Spirit reminds you through the words recorded in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 3. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. He will purify the sons of Levi and refine them like gold and silver. The angel lets those words echo. You are being refined, not rejected. You feel relief, knowing that the pain of transformation is proof that heaven still works within you. You see flashes of your past moments you tried to forget, regrets buried beneath the surface, decisions made from fear instead of faith. They rise like bubbles in clear water. The angel does not let you drown in shame. He reminds you, you cannot be healed from what you still hide. So you watch the memories drift upward, not to haunt you but to be released. The air around you thickens with light, shimmering like heat. The angel steps closer and touches your chest. It feels like warmth spreading through every nerve, every memory, every forgotten dream. The weight you've carried begins to lift, not suddenly but faithfully. You realize that restoration is not a single event, it is a process. Layer by layer, as heaven restores your original design. Then he says something that stills you completely. Forgive the systems, forgive yourself. You hesitate. Forgive the systems, the very structures that poisoned, lied, manipulated. Yet the angel continues. Forgiveness is not approval, it is release. Until you forgive, the enemy still rents space in your heart. You take a deep breath. Slowly, intentionally, you release the bitterness. Not for them, but for you. The moment you do, a new light breaks inside, softer and cleaner. The angel smiles faintly. Now the toxins of the spirit can leave. You understand now that detoxification is more spiritual than physical. The world talks about cleansing diets, but heaven calls for cleansing motives. The impurities that matter most are not in your bloodstream. They are in your beliefs. You were never meant to carry fear disguised as faith, or resentment dressed as righteousness. The refiner's fire burns those illusions away until only truth remains. You begin to see purification not as punishment, but as rebirth. Every ache, every tear becomes evidence that the old is making way for the new. It is not a comfortable process, but it is holy. You whisper a quiet prayer, let nothing false remain. And heaven answers. Then nothing false will survive. The angel shows you another vision, a river of light flowing through the earth, carrying away remnants of deception. In its current, countless souls are washed clean of lies they once called truth. You see faces, some you know, others you don't, all awakening under the same water. It's not just healing for individuals, it's collective renewal. As the vision fades, the angel says purity is power. Every heart that purifies itself becomes a conduit through which heaven can move freely. You feel those words vibrating through your bones. This isn't about perfection, it's about alignment. You don't need to become flawless. You need to become transparent, allowing light to flow through you without distortion. You lift your hands slightly, not in ritual, but in surrender. The light that once surrounded you now flows through you. You feel lighter, cleaner, closer to your truest self. There is peace now, not the fragile kind that depends on silence, but the strong kind that endures storms. The angel's voice drifts as he steps back. You are not the same, he says. You have been refined by truth. Keep walking. The next revelation waits for those who stay clean in a polluted world. You watch him fade into brilliance, knowing that the cleansing has only begun, but this time, you are not afraid of the fire. You welcome it. You stand still after the fire of refinement, feeling the quiet weight of renewal settling over you. The angel does not reappear right away. Instead, you sense presence like the sound of wind you can't see but somehow know is holy. What fills the air now is not urgency but clarity. The war has shifted, Omo. You are no longer the wounded soldier, you are becoming the healer. Your hands tremble slightly, not from weakness but from recognition. You are aware of your own power again, the sacred kind, the kind that comes not from domination but from devotion. The angel finally speaks, his tone softer now, as though heaven itself has exhaled. This is the call to detox, he says, not only from what poisons the body, but from what poisons the soul. You understand instantly. Detox is not a ritual, it's a release. It's saying no to what once felt safe but secretly stole your strength. The angel gestures toward the earth and whispers, "Everything impure carries memory. What you consume, touch, and tolerate, each one writes upon your spirit." You feel that truth like a pulse beneath your skin. Heaven reminds you through the words in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 7, verse 1. "Let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of God." The verse lands like a gentle command, a call not to shame, but to sacred discipline. The angel continues, "You cannot heal what you still make excuses to keep." Your mind begins to map all the subtle toxins you've allowed in conversations that drain your light, memories you keep replaying, habits that promise comfort but breed confusion. You see how easily poison disguises itself as pleasure. And the angel explains, the greatest toxins are those you defend. He shows you people tangled in invisible threads, addictions, resentments, attachments to what they know harms them. None of the threads look violent, they look familiar, even comforting. But the more they pull, the tighter they bind. You realize detox is not just release, it is confrontation. It requires honesty sharper than any blade. You feel heaven's question rise in your heart. What are you still clinging to that heaven has asked you to let go of? You don't answer out loud, but you know. Everyone knows. There is always something, the thought, the fear, the substance, the silence. Detox means surrendering control. Trusting that what leaves your life makes room for what should have always been there. The angel draws a circle of light around you, and you sense an invisible cleansing begin. Thoughts that once carried weight begin to fall away. Regret loosens its grip. You don't need to fight the process. You only need to stop resisting it. Detox, you realize, is the language of alignment. The angel says, when you cleanse your life, heaven cleanses your lineage. Those words reach deeper than anything before. You understand that your obedience affects more than yourself. It repairs what generations before you broke. Each time you release something toxic, you rewrite the story for those who will come after. The process doesn't feel painful anymore, it feels peaceful. Every part of you that was cluttered with noise begins to empty. You start to hear heaven more clearly, not as thunder, but as melody. And it occurs to you maybe clarity was never gone, it was only buried beneath excess. The angel's light glows brighter for a final moment. When you let go, he says, heaven replace it. He promises that what is released will be restored in a higher form, peace instead of anxiety, faith instead of fear, purpose instead of patterns. You feel tears form, not of sorrow but of surrender. You whisper, cleanse me and keep me clean. The angel steps back, satisfied. Now mark this moment, he says, for detox's declaration. If you feel this word pierce through the noise, if you sense that heaven is asking you to let go of what no longer belongs, then affirm it now. Comment 535 below. It is a symbol of transformation and renewal. 5 for grace, repeated thrice for completion. When you write it, you declare, I release, I rise, I am renewed. The air feels lighter now, as if the weight of unseen burdens has lifted from your shoulders. You sense heaven smiling, recognizing your willingness to be made whole again. A soft wind moves through the space around you, carrying the echo of your decision across realms. The detox is no longer an act, it is identity. You are no longer carrying what kills, you are carrying what heals. Comment 555, each digit represents grace multiplied. 5 for freedom, 5 for release, 5 for divine restoration. When you write it, heaven reads it as renewal. It is your public declaration that what once held you no longer defines you. The silence that follows is sacred. You feel neither weight nor worry, only space, wide and open inside your chest. The angel is not visible this time, yet his nearness is undeniable. It feels like standing in sunlight after years underground. The warmth does not just touch your skin, it seeps into your spirit, reaching places that once seemed unreachable. You begin to realize that restoration is not something heaven does to you, but through you. The divine current moves gently, repairing what once was fractured, aligning what once was lost. Every wound, every scar, every forgotten dream is rewritten in the light of purpose. The angel's voice finally returns, low and steady. This is your restoration season. Restoration does not arrive as thunder, it unfolds like dawn. The first light seems faint, almost fragile, but it grows stronger each day you walk in truth. The angel explains, healing is not proven in how fast you recover, but in how deeply you return. You think of a garden that survived a storm. The branches may be bent, but roots that remain in living soil always find a way to bloom again. Your body feels different now, not perfect, but peaceful. The heaviness that once clung to your bones has loosened. The air inside your lungs feels clean. You realize the miracle isn't that your pain vanished, but that it no longer owns you. What once ruled your thoughts now whispers powerlessly in the distance. That is restoration, not forgetting, but remembering without chains. The Spirit brings to mind the words written in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25. And I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten. You let the promise rest inside you. It feels personal. Heaven is not simply repairing what was damaged, it is redeeming the time lost to deception. Every moment you thought wasted becomes fertile again under divine grace. You begin to feel a rhythm, a flow returning to your days. The small things that once felt empty now carry sacred meaning. Morning light, laughter, silence, all of it feels alive again. Restoration, you see, is not about getting back what was. It is about discovering what always could have been. The angel whispers, heaven never rebuilds the same structure, then it always constructs something stronger. You look back over your journey and recognize the pattern. The fire of refinement stripped away the false foundation. You are the detox washed away residue. And now, what remains is clean ground ready for new creation. You imagine your life as a temple being rebuilt. The stones are memories, the pillars are convictions, and the roof is faith stretching wide across your sky. Each day, another part of you takes form, shaped by light instead of fear. Restoration, you realize, is not a moment, it's architecture. The angel shows you how restoration also flows outward. When you heal, the light within you begins to spill into places around you. Your home, your relationships, even the people who once misunderstood you. Without effort, your presence becomes healing in motion. You do not have to preach it. You live it. Restoration is contagious when carried with humility. You recall the faces of those still caught in deception. The anger you once felt toward them has turned into compassion. You understand now they are not enemies. They are echoes of your former self. You were blind once, too. The difference is that you answered the call when heaven interrupted your numbness. The angel's tone deepens. Guard your restoration, he says. Not everyone will understand your peace. Some will question it. Others will try to borrow it. Do not let guilt make you return to what God rescued you from. You feel the truth of that warning resonate like thunder inside still waters. Restoration must be protected, not paraded. You look within and realize something profound. Healing did not make you invincible. It made you sensitive in holy ways. You can feel the slightest tremor of spiritual imbalance now, like a finely tuned instrument. The sensitivity that once made you ache now makes you aware. That awareness is your new armor. You raise your eyes to the horizon. The light there feels alive gold threaded with hints of blue. You can sense the future calling, not in shouts but in gentle invitation. It does not demand, it draws. The angel says softly, "You are ready to build," and for the first time, you believe him completely. You take one step forward, and the ground beneath you feels alive, each movement a conversation between your healed soul and the earth that remembers your name. Somewhere in the unseen, the angel watches, silent and proud. Heaven doesn't need applause. Your obedience is its music. The restoration is complete, and your new beginning quietly begins. The days that follow feel different. The air itself seems to hum with quiet reverence, as though creation recognizes that something within you has shifted. You no longer wake up searching for meaning, you wake up as meaning. The angel's presence lingers like sunlight through glass, unseen yet felt in every moment you choose awareness over distraction. You begin to understand what the angel meant by the great awakening within. It is not a thunderclap, not an event marked by noise or spectacle. It is a slow unveiling, a gentle remembering of who you've always been beneath the layers of noise, fear, and control. The awakening does not arrive from above, it rises from within, like spring breaking through a long winter. The angel's voice returns one morning, softer than before. Awakening is not seeing new things, it's seeing old things clearly. He says, "You think about all the moments you once called ordinary, the morning sun on your hands, the rhythm of your breath, the laughter of someone you love. Now, each one feels sacred. The veil that once separated the spiritual from the simple has lifted. Every second is communion if your eyes are open enough to notice. Awakening, you realize, is not just personal, it is generational. When one soul wakes, light ripples outward, shaking others gently until they stir. The angel shows you a vision, thousands of tiny lights flickering across the earth like stars reflected on water. Some burn fiercely, others tremble weakly, but all together, they form constellations, patterns of purpose drawn by heaven's hand. The Spirit reminds you of the words written in Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1. "Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee." You breathe those words in deeply, and they no longer sound distant, they sound like your heartbeat. You are no longer reaching for light, you have become its vessel. The angel explains, when awakening begins within, it changes how you see without. The same storm that once terrified you becomes evidence of your strength. The same wilderness that once felt lonely becomes your sanctuary. You realize the world has not changed, your eyes have. Where once you saw chaos, now you see creation in progress. You begin to notice the synchronicities, small alignments that whisper of divine order. A word arrives when you need guidance. A door closes only for a better one to appear. People you thought were gone forever resurface at the right moment, carrying messages they didn't know they were delivering. Awakening sharpens your sight to notice heaven's fingerprints on the ordinary. The angel speaks again. Awakening will test your vision. The more light you hold, the more clearly you will see darkness, but fear not, for light does not lose by exposure. These words settle deep within. You understand now that spiritual maturity is not escaping the world's chaos, but walking through it without losing your clarity. You carry light not to avoid shadows, but to reveal them. Sometimes the weight of awareness feels heavy. You see suffering everywhere, people numbing, running, forgetting. But the angel assures you, compassion is not weakness. It is your power refined. You learn to feel deeply without drowning, to love fiercely without losing yourself. The awakening teaches you balance, heart open, spirit guarded. In quiet moments, you sense heaven trusting you with more insight, more responsibility, not for pride, but for purpose. You have become one of the awakened carriers, those who see what others ignore, who live awake while the world sleeps. The burden is real, but so is the beauty. You know that awakening is not an escape from pain. It is the ability to find purpose inside it. You look out at the world and realize that the same systems of control still exist, but their grip no longer terrifies you. Awareness has given you freedom within the cage, the kind that no lock can hold. The angel's voice fades in and out like a gentle rhythm. You are no longer merely surviving. You are witnessing. The awakening continues in layers. Each day you uncover a deeper truth, a softer strength, a wider love. It does not end. It expands. Like the ocean, it deepens with every wave of surrender. And now you know this is not the conclusion of your journey. This is the consciousness you were born to carry. As the sun rises once more, you close your eyes and whisper, "I am awake." The words carry no pride, only peace. The great awakening within is no longer a mystery, it is your way of being. The light within you no longer flickers. It burns with purpose, steady and alive. You feel as though heaven has placed a torch in your hands, not just to guide your steps, but to help others find their way. The angel reappears, his expression radiant yet solemn. Now, he says, you rise as one of the healers. It does not mean you will never face pain again. It means that when pain comes, it will no longer define you. You have become the antidote to what once poisoned you. The angel calls this the rise of the healers, a season where those refined by struggle become carriers of light for others lost in shadow. You begin to feel that truth moving through you. Every scar glows faintly, not as a reminder of suffering, but as proof of survival. You understand now the healed are heaven's doctors, and the once broken are the most compassionate surgeons. The world needs healers who have walked through darkness and remember the way out. The angel says, do not hide your light. There are souls assigned to your flame. The thought humbles you. Healing, you realize, is not ownership, it's overflow. What heaven pours into you must move through you to remain alive. You think about all those who may one day hear your words or feel your presence. The quiet warriors who still sit in the fog you once escaped. For them, your story will be a map, your endurance a kind of medicine. Heaven doesn't waste healed hearts. It sends them back as beacons. The Spirit brings to mind the ancient words recorded in the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. The angel lets the words rest like a crown upon you. Every healed soul becomes a messenger, he says. You are now one of them. You understand now that healing was never meant to stop at you. It was meant to spread, to flow, to multiply, to ignite others. That is how heaven builds its kingdom, not by force, but by fire shared from one soul to another. So, if this message has touched you, if you feel that same fire stirring deep within your spirit, let it move freely, like this message, not as a task, but as a candle lifted high. Each act of acknowledgement becomes a spark that tells heaven, the flame has found another keeper. Share it the way wind carries fragrance unseen, effortless, yet powerful. Somewhere out there, someone's midnight waits for your dawn. Your one gesture could become their first glimmer of awakening. Leave a comment, even if it's only a few words, like a stone dropped into still water. Ripples travel further than you think. When you write from your heart, you leave a mark that algorithms can't measure, but heaven always notices. Subscribe, not for numbers or updates, but as a way of saying, I choose to walk in this light continuously. Every time you return, you feed the fire that unites a community of souls who refuse to go back to sleep. And if your heart feels led quietly, gently to donate, see it as something far more poetic than money. Think of it as watering a garden whose flowers bloom for others. Every seed you sow here turns into words that reach the broken, into voices that awaken the silent. Giving is not loss, it is legacy. The angel smiles, the kind of smile that holds galaxies in its calm. Heaven never commands generosity, he says. It invites it, because love given freely never returns empty. You understand that now. What you give out of love multiplies in ways you'll never see but will always feel. The world may still spin in confusion, but you walk in clarity. You are no longer one searching for healing, you're one carrying it. The angel looks at you for the last time in this chapter and says, Go, healer. Speak gently, live boldly, shine steadily. Your heart feels full of peace, of fire, of quiet purpose. The light you carry now is not for display, it's for direction. You know that every click, every word, every act of kindness adds fuel to the same flame that first awakened you. If this message lives in you, let it move the way light does, freely, kindly, beautifully. Like share, comment, subscribe, or give as your spirit leads. Each act becomes another beam stretching outward, another proof that healing is real, that love still wins. The light has settled deep within you now. It no longer feels like something visiting from outside, it has become a part of your very breath, a steady rhythm that beats quietly beneath everything you do. The angel's presence is softer now, less a figure beside you and more a current flowing through you. You realize that heaven's greatest miracle is not visitation, it's habitation. You walk through familiar streets, but everything seems transformed. The air feels cleaner, colors appear sharper, even silence carries music. You see people rushing past, each wrapped in their own storm of noise and need. Once, you might have pitied them. Now, you love them. The difference is compassion without condescension. You understand how blindness feels because you once stumbled through that same fog. The angel whispers, Your awareness is not a weapon, it is a lamp. You hold that truth tenderly. A lamp does not chase darkness, it simply stands and shines. And slowly, the dark withdraws on its own. You remember the day you first heard the warning, the voice that told you not to swallow another deception. That single pause changed everything. What began as fear has become formation. You see now that heaven's interruptions are never accidents, they are invitations. If pain was the seed, awareness was the water, and restoration the growth, then this peace is the fruit. The Spirit brings to your mind words written in the book of Philippians chapter 1, verse 6. Being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. You breathe out slowly, letting the assurance fill every part of you. The work is ongoing, alive, expanding beyond what you can yet imagine. You begin to notice the way the world still trembles with its old sickness, fear disguised as order, manipulation dressed as progress. Yet the tremor no longer shakes you. You walk differently now, not immune to pain but immune to confusion. The angel says, Those who live awake do not need control, they live in clarity. You meet others along your path, some curious, some cautious, some clearly searching. You recognize the look in their eyes, It is the same hunger you once carried. You do not preach to them. You listen. Sometimes healing enters through silence more easily than through speech. When you finally speak, your words come out calm, threaded with light. You are no longer echoing information. You are transmitting transformation. In small moments, you catch glimpses of heaven's symmetry. The same people who once hurt you now pass by with peace in their faces, unaware that your forgiveness set them free long before they knew they needed it. You see how everything connects: the betrayals, the awakenings, the lonely nights, the divine interruptions. Nothing was wasted. The fire did not consume you, it refined you. The angel says, "You are living proof that mercy is not weakness." You nod. You know now that gentleness requires strength far greater than rage. To forgive is not to forget, it is to refuse to let darkness rent space in your soul. As evening falls, you stand under a wide, quiet sky. Stars bloom above you, countless and alive. The angel's light blends with them until you can no longer tell where his presence ends and the night begins. This is how heaven moves, he says. Through the ordinary. Through you. You feel small but significant, a single flame in an endless constellation. You realize now that you no longer wait for the angel to speak first. His voice is now intertwined with your own intuition. What once came as instruction now arrives as instinct. That is how heaven trusts its chosen, by dwelling within them so completely that obedience feels like breathing. A gentle certainty settles in your bones. This awakening was never meant to make you distant from the world, but deeply present within it. You were not pulled out of the storm to escape it, you were strengthened to walk back into it, carrying calm. The angel's final words for this night come like a benediction whispered through starlight. Peace is not the absence of battle, it is the presence of understanding. You let those words sink deep. The wind passes, cool and clear, and you know it's true. You close your eyes, and for the first time in a long while, you are not waiting for revelation. You are simply resting inside it. The journey that began in warning now lives in wisdom. The work continues, but the war within has ended. Within has. Dawn arrives quietly, without ceremony. Light spills across the horizon like a promise kept, gentle but unbreakable. You rise with it, no longer searching for meaning in the sky, but carrying it within. The angel's presence hums softly in your chest, a reminder that heaven's messengers never truly leave. They simply move from sight to spirit. You stand still for a moment, listening. The world sounds different now, not because it has changed, but because you have. Even the smallest noises, the rustle of leaves, the rhythm of footsteps, the far-off hum of morning life, all of it feels woven into a larger song. You realize that awareness itself is worship. To see, to breathe, to notice, these are holy acts. The angel's voice returns like wind through tall grass. You have crossed the threshold, he says. This is the crowning of the obedient. The words don't come with fanfare or flashing light. They arrive in stillness, as if heaven has learned to whisper because you have finally learned to listen. You think back on every stage of your journey: the warning, the awakening, the fire, the cleansing, the healing. Each part that once felt separate now aligns perfectly, like stars forming a constellation only visible from a distance. The angel continues. The crown is not made of gold, it is made of understanding. You touch your chest instinctively and feel warmth. Not heat, but the steady glow of recognition. It dawns on you that obedience was never about submission, it was about synchronization. Every time you said yes to heaven, you aligned your rhythm with eternity's heartbeat. The Spirit brings to mind the words written in the second letter of Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day." The angel nods slowly. That crown is not waiting at the end of life. It is placed each time you choose truth over ease. You stand taller now, not from pride, but peace. The crown is invisible to the world, but undeniable to the Spirit. It shines in your patience, in your compassion, in your courage to keep seeing when others close their eyes. This is what it means to be crowned the quiet authority of awareness. The angel gestures toward the earth, still veiled in morning mist. "Look," he says. "You see multitudes, countless souls rising from their own fog, stretching toward light. Some stumble, some run, some crawl, but all move forward." The angel explains. Your obedience has ripple effects. Every chosen one who listens helps awaken another. You watch as those tiny sparks begin to form lines of light connecting across continents. It looks like veins glowing under the skin of creation. Tears form in your eyes, not from sorrow but from awe. You never realized how your single act of surrender could echo so widely. Heaven's math was never about addition. It was always about multiplication. The angel speaks again. Remember this, truth crowns are not rewards. They are responsibilities. To wear light is to bear its weight with love. You understand now that this journey was never about escape, but embodiment. The chosen are not spectators of miracles, they are the miracles walking among the weary. You begin to feel the world calling again, the people, the movement, the needs. This time, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels like invitation. You know that being crowned does not remove you from humanity, it roots you deeper into it. The healer must live among the hurting. The light must walk through the dark. The angel's voice fades into calm air, but before it disappears completely, you hear one final sentence. Keep walking, crowned one. The story heaven writes through you is not finished, it has only found its rhythm. The horizon glows brighter, spilling gold across your path. You take a slow breath, feeling gratitude pulse through every vein. You do not need to see the road ahead, you only need to keep walking in light. And as you step forward, you realize that the crown isn't something you wear, it's something you become. The wind moves around you, not cold but alive, carrying the quiet hum of unseen wings. You feel heaven near, not above you but within you. Every breath you take feels like agreement, every step like prayer. The ground itself seems to recognize your arrival, as though creation bows to restored order. You whisper nothing, yet everything answers. The light no longer follows you, it flows from you. And in that stillness, you finally understand the crown was never a symbol of victory, but of belonging. The journey completes its circle. But the light you carry keeps moving forward. What began as a whisper has become a wildfire of awareness, a truth that will continue long after this message ends. You are not standing at the finish line. You are standing at the beginning of legacy. The story now belongs to you. Heaven never asked you to keep this light hidden. It was always meant to travel, to move from your heart into the hearts of others. So, if this message has stirred something within you, like it not for numbers or approval, but as a way of saying, I'm still here, I'm still awake. Each like becomes a small lantern placed along the path for others to see their way home. Share it as you would release a dove into an open sky. You never know whose darkness your simple act of courage will break. Somewhere, someone is waiting for a sign that light still exists, and your share might be that sign. Comment not out of habit, but as testimony. A few honest words can ripple through timelines and reach a soul at its breaking point. When you write, you are not talking to a screen, you are speaking into eternity's echo. Subscribe, not to a channel, but to the rhythm of awakening itself. Stay connected to this flow of truth, where each new word is a spark meant to keep your flame alive. And if your heart feels led to donate, do it as you would plant a seed in fertile soil. Every act of generosity becomes oil for the lamp that keeps shining across nations, across souls. There is no pressure here, only invitation. Give as your spirit moves, and watch how heaven multiplies what leaves your hand. Let this be your moment of partnership with light, not out of duty but out of love.